Hello, everybody. It's Creative Crafty Chris here, coming to you on my Scrap Your Scraps channel. And tonight we are going to work on a one-page layout made with scraps. So earlier I sent out a list to most of the places I know that my followers are linked into, and I also put a notice online of what you needed to create this one-page layout. So I'll just go over those things quickly. If you're sitting at home and you're just viewing without having had any previous information, you might want to jot a couple of things down. And those of you that got my information, you can just begin to sort your pages according to the way I lay it out on the page in front of me. Okay, so one of the things I asked you to create was a strip that was a 1/2 inch by 12 inches, and that's this one right here. And this one we're going to just position approximately under the halfway mark. I'm not quite sure if I want to cut this down. So that's a 1/2 inch by 12, and I'm just laying it on my paper under the halfway mark. And then the next thing that I had asked you, another thing that I had asked you to do was to get a strip of paper that was 2 by 8 inches. So that's this one here. And I'm just going to put that in this location, somewhere in there. Then I had asked you to create 2 pattern papers, one that was 1 inch by 9 inches. That's this one here, and that's going to go above this one. And then I asked you to create a second one in the same pattern that was 1.5 by 8 inches, and that one is going to go under this one right here. We're going to mess around with this a little bit, so don't worry if you're having trouble following me right now. Then I had asked you to do a pattern piece that was 1 1/4 by 9.5. So 1.25 by 9.5. Okay, I'll go over these again. And then I had asked you to create 2 pieces, two pieces of plain cardstock that was 1/2 by, can't remember now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1/2 by 7 inches, which is going up there. And then the other one was 1.5 by 8 inches. Alrighty, and that's going down here. Then I had asked you to get another pattern paper that was approximately 1 1/2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 1/2 by 7, and then a small piece that was 1/4 inch by 7. Okay, so these are all the papers that you are looking at. This top one and the bottom one are the same. Let me move my paper up a bit more. Top and the bottom are the same color, cardstock, 1/2 inch by 8, if I'm not no, 1/2 inch by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1/2 inch by 7 at the top, and 1 1/2 inches by 8 at the bottom. Then 2 patterns that are the same here. This one is 1 inch by 9 inches, and this one is 1 1/2 inches by 9 inches. Okay. Then I asked for another plain cardstock. This actually is a different color than the one I have. It's lighter, but it's in this range. And that piece is 2 inches by 8 inches. Then I asked you to find another patterned cardstock. This one is 1¼ inches by 9½ inches. And then we have our 12-inch by a 1/2 inch piece. We've talked about that one already. This one is 1/4 inch by 7 inches. This one is, what have I got here? 1½ inches by 8 inches. And I think I might trim that down. And then this final piece we've already talked about. Okay, so I'm going to move slowly through this. So if you haven't cut all the pieces, you can pull them together as I lay this out. So first of all, I'm going to collect these. And we're going to start with our first piece, which is our 12-inch piece by 1/2 inch piece of pattern paper. Again, as I said, we're going to stick this down under our halfway point. So the 6-inch goes across the top. And if you look at my layout, you can see I'm lining up with the halfway point on my paper. I'm just going to lay this down with tape. Nothing special. All right, so make sure I've got it on the grid properly. It's not good when you have it all kind of askew. I just recently got new glasses and everything is askew until I get used to them, I guess. So I may cut this down a little bit. I'm not quite sure. I might cut it in a 1/2 inch, but I'm going to lay it out first and see how it goes. Then the next piece I'm looking for is my fatter pattern piece. So I had a 1 inch by 9 inch pattern piece up here, and then the same pattern was 1½ inch by 9 inch pattern, and that's going to be glued right under, and I'm going to center it right underneath there. Now, I don't use glue when I do my layouts because I just sometimes realize I want to change things at the last minute, and that makes it very difficult to do. Alrighty, so I am going to lay that underneath about halfway, and I'm really going to eyeball this more than anything. About there, okay. And then under this piece, I have my 1½ by 7 inch pattern paper, and I also have my 1½ or my 1/4 inch by 7 inch paper. Now these ones are the ones I'm going to scallop. So I had already cut this, so I am actually eyeballing my scalloping under here, and all I do is I line it. I've done my first row, and then I just line my paper up. Funny little bug. Line my paper up with that last loop, okay, and then I trim along. So there's my last loop, my last cut. Line it with the top of the paper so that I save as much paper as possible. And then once I got it all lined up, I just punch it, move it along. Whoops, sometimes it falls out. And I'm noticing I need to punch that again. That's not quite right. Square at the top. Try to get it more rounded. There we go. Might have to make that a little nicer. And then I find my last spot. And I give myself just a little bit of space. And I just move it slowly through. Get it as close to the edge as I can without there we go. And finish it off. Okay, so there we go. And I have some things that I don't like about this, so I'm going to just trim out a little bit, go across and flatten it out. It's very good to have a sharp border maker when you do this. Just make sure I get most of it off. Trim the little rough bits. Okay, flip it over and go back the other way. Trim those little rough bits. All right. And I take my garbage right off my page there. Okay, so that's that. And I have a different punch for this. I've chosen to use a larger punch. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line this punch up with my last cut. And cut. And again. Lining it up with my last cut. It is better if you have thick enough paper to do your punching before you do your cutting, but I didn't think of that. And these are scraps, so I'm not all that worried. We're still going to have a very pretty page left over. The page I'm making is going to be one for a wedding. And it's going to be a cake page for an upcoming wedding. So this is why I'm using these colors. Oops. Just going to line up a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. And I'm done. Okay. So I'll get this off here. So now sorry, I'm just looking at my photo here. Alrighty, so this is gonna, I don't really want it quite this fat. So this right now is 1.5. I think I'm gonna take it down to 1 inch, just to make it a slight bit thinner. So I get my cutter out. I'm gonna take that down to 1 inch instead of 1.5 inches, or maybe I'll do 1 1/4 and see. Okay, just do it 1/4 of a time because this is going to go on here and it's going to be centered. And then this guy is going to go on top of that one like that. Alrighty, I think I like it at the 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to stick those guys down. Oh. Alrighty, So I'm going to eyeball the measurement of that. That kind of in the center, and then this one I'm going to put on top. And just make sure my adhesive isn't hanging over anywhere. So I get a nice clean line. Go. Alrighty, we're going to lay that right along the same line. Oh, I just realized something. I want to put this on top of the other paper. Okay, so let's lift this very gently. This one goes on top of the base paper underneath. Okay, so that piece is this piece. So I need to put this down. And I'm going to put this slightly to one side. Do I want to make, I think I'm going to make this all centered just because I don't want it to be a left or right page. Now I don't like it that thick. Okay. So that's what I thought would happen. So I'm going to take another quarter inch off of this because now it's definitely too big. It's a problem when you get tape on it. You gotta make sure you have it where you want it. There we go. And this is a nice piece for another project. Alrighty. That's much better. And I'm going to eyeball that one. Center. There we go. And then this will go on top again. There we go. Alrighty. Bit of glue there. Okay, so far so good. All right, so that's the bottom part of the page happening. So above the page, we are getting our one piece of pattern paper that we've cut 1 1/4 inches by 9 1/2 inches. And we're going to lay that one on top as well, centered. There we go. All right, and then above that, we are going to put our piece of cardstock that is different than the top and the bottom. That is 2 by 8 inches. And we're going to center that. All right. And then we're going to take our matching piece from the bottom here, and we're going to lay that across the top. And that one is 1 inch by 9 inches. I think I might actually just lift up the top edge of this paper and slide this under a little bit. Give it a bit of dimension so it's not all flat. And I'm going to have to eyeball. how much I am putting it under. I'm putting it under about 1/8 of an inch, or maybe I'll go for 1/4 of an inch. Okay, 1/4 of an inch. And centering, there we go. So it has a little bit more dimension to it there. And then I'm putting on top of that my finished piece. And that's going to be centered. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, it's a little matchy-matchy. I don't mind what's going on down here. I feel like this has to go over more. That's probably okay. Yeah, oh well. Maybe I'll move this one and line it up with the one that's just underneath, or maybe just a little, give it kind of a, that's what I'll do. Don't want it to be too asymmetrical or too symmetrical. I just want to have like a little bit of a jig there, just to, so it's not all centered. All right, now I had asked you to cut out 2 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 inch mats. And I'm just going to grab, I've created this little mat guide thing. And the reason I've done this is so that when I put mats on a layout and people see them, they'll see more what it would look like with a photo on it than just this paper. Because if I lay this paper down, it just gets lost in the mix. So this is actually going to be with a little bit of repositional tape. So I get my repositional tape, Scotch brand from Staples. I'm just going to stick this on my mat so that's a little easier to envision a photo on there. So it takes out a whole lot of that background color. And I chose the color that was in the layout, but you could relatively choose any color you want. You could choose white. All right, so there's my photos. Now, I want to make sure that I'm not covering everything up completely, but I want to have a little bit of variety in what you see. So I'm thinking I might even go sideways on this. There we go. And do it sideways and have them overlap in the center. But I'm not going to lay those down permanently because I want to play a little bit with it. The other thing I want to do is add in some bling here. So I've got a number of possibilities. And like I always say, your bling can be whatever color you want. Even if you start off with something this color, simply by changing the color of it with pens and different things. Maybe I'll do this. No, definitely won't do that. Or I do this every once in a while to see if there's something I like better in a different position. Especially with one-pagers, you can flip them and see if you like them better in one direction or another. So this is one direction. I don't think I want to put both of these in the same direction. And if I turn this again, there's a whole other possibility. Maybe I could do 2 side by side like this. Or maybe I could do one here, and one here. That doesn't look too bad either. Or I could flip that and do one here and one there. That doesn't look bad either. And let's see again what we had in the beginning, what I was going for. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if I like it the way I had it originally in the beginning. I think I might like it better like that. But then I lose all, what about if I go Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. This is perplexing me now. Or maybe like that. Show a little more of that. These three coming down. I think this is the way I'm going to go, folks. And then we can have something going on in there. No. So it's very interesting what happens when you move the page around with your photos. So I have a couple of things that I wanted to try to see if I liked. Now these are that's not good. These are pre-done little leaf grippings with little flowers, and I imagine they would expect you to sort of play with it a little bit. So I can leave them just as they are, as little leaf groupings, and maybe tuck them beside the pictures. Not really thrilled with the way they stuck those on there. So open these up. I'm just going to squish these together a little bit. So something like that. Or I had considered recoloring and making the flowers a little bit bigger and less kind of like, what would you call that? Grassy looking. Look more like something like that, but in a color. I have a number of different options for that. So you could do something like this. And of course, I'll recolor these. I don't think I'll keep them white. And then something like that. And then I have another set that I could also pull in and do the three flowers somewhere. Or I have these crocheted little guys which are kind of interesting. They're along the same color lines as what's going on in the paper. And I thought perhaps I could use some of these white ones, the larger white ones, and put the green ones inside the white ones. Remove these guys all together and just have individual flowers, the crocheted flowers, which kind of tie in. In this pattern here, it's very hard to see. Let me see if I can lift this up without destroying too much. But there is pink and, let's see. There's pink and yellow and white in that pattern on a teal background, but the background is so shiny that it just looks dark if the light isn't shining directly on it. So when you see the page itself, it looks quite nice actually. So I have this option. I have this kind of option where I could get a couple of these with different backgrounds. And these are quite cute. I could even color these if I wanted to. So if I pull these off and put these on, it might be too much turquoise. I think I might have to pull away from all this turquoisiness. I need 3 groups of 3. No, it's too country. This is not really a country page, but I think I do like what was going on with these guys. Now I just got to figure out if I want to change the colors in them or if I want to leave the colors in them. Do I want to leave it like that or do I want to leave it like this? So this is an interesting design decision that I have to make here. I just don't think there's enough going on here. And this is kind of a wedding page, and I feel like I need to pull out a little more of that wedding page possibility. And I can do both flowers exactly the same. Let me see where that other one went. I'll put it over here. So I could do both flowers exactly the same with the yellow centers, or I could do one with one that's plain and one that's colored, or I could switch these around all together and put the more colored one at the top and the less colored one at the bottom. I don't think I like that. I think I like that. Alrighty. So I think I like what's happening, and I don't even know that I need to change the colors of these. These are definitely spotted, but they're not spotted in a way that's distracting. So I think I might leave them as is, which is really unusual for me. I could put a bit of a center in to block some of that yellow here and here. I could do that. I was hoping to maybe use some of these hearts in the pale, kind of large, maybe the smaller hearts, and just do a couple of little hearts. So let's think about that. Let's get these flowers done. I think I'm sold on the flowers. So I'm going to put all this other stuff aside, and I think I only really need 2. I don't think I need 3. So we'll deal with that later. So how we're going to stick these on, we're just going to put pop dots on the back, or not pop dots, but what do you call them? Adhesive dots. These might be too big. This is where having a variety of sized dots is very, very awesome. I'm using glue dots, and these are the small size. And I'm just going to put that right on the flower. And then I'm going to put that right on that ugly flower. And I think I'm going to just kind of pull forward the flower petals a little bit to give it a little bit of life. There we go. Looks a little more perky. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. Where did I keep my garbage together? Okay, that's going to go on this side. And luckily these guys they have metal in them, so I can move them around closer or farther away. I can play around with them all I want. Okay, a little bit of life in those. There we go. And then get this one on here. And he's going to be in the top one. I like the idea that this is 3. I'm much happier with odd numbers than even numbers. There we go. Now, just open that up a little bit more. It's going to go this way. Now, trick is, do I want a center? I'm going to trim one of these out so that I can see whether I like what it looks like. So that goes in there. Or the other option is to put a little pink one in the center. That's a heart. No, the heart one doesn't work for me. And this might be too big. Is that too big? Might I like a smaller one? No, the smaller one is too small. Okay, I'm going to put one in one, and then I'm going to see how I feel at the end, whether I like it or not. So let's finish up this guy. This guy is moving that way. Get some dots going. I know I need 3, so I can just pull 3 right off. One. Pull all the flower petals up. There we go. 2. And 3. There we go. Oops, putting that in the wrong place. Just lifting all these flowers up a little bit, give them some 3-dimensional pizzazz. And now this one is going to have these guys on the other side. Just Spread them out a little. Pull it up just a tiny bit. Okay, so that will go a little on that side. And this. Go a little on that side. Okay, so that's where we're at. So that's the plain one, and that's the one with the little dot in it. And I think I like the little dot. So we're going to put another one of those in there. There we go. All right, so now let's stick a couple of these things down. I think I'll give myself let's see. Going to put that 2 1/4 up and 1/4 over. There we go. Okay, this guy is sliding around a little. And this one, I'm going to put 2 1/4 down. And let's see. About an inch over. Or do I cover that? Go above. No. So I changed my measurement on that. So now we are 2 1/4 inches down and 1 1/4 inches over. Just showing top and the bottom. Okay, there we go. All right, now this guy, I need to make sure he stays steady, so I'm going to go and move to a medium dot. And the medium dot is going to cover more of all the stuff that's here. Oops, that's very sticky, yucky. So this one, don't want to get stuck. Is going to go in here. There we go. And fluff those up just a little. There we go. That looks pretty. And then the pictures will slip underneath. Do the same thing to this one. Use my medium dot. There we go. Turn that over. These guys up. It's going to be a little higher. Alrighty. This is going to go there. Goes up a little bit. Okay, now do I dare? I think I do need these. So I'm going to put one in the center of each of them just to finish everything off, and the smaller ones go on the smaller. Yeah, that totally makes it look right. Sometimes you just know when you did the right thing. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So I normally don't put a place for actual, what do you call it, journaling, but I have lots of open spaces where I can put a journaling piece in once I see what the pictures are. This, I feel like it just needs something else, and I'm thinking it's going to end up being these hearts, just a couple of hearts, maybe a heart here. Just because it is a wedding page and you have kind of got an expectation of there being some love thing involved. So if I do 2 hearts there, something like that. It's very hard to tell because I have this all on a white paper. And then maybe 2 smaller hearts. Here. Let's see how that looks. Do I want 3 or do I want 2? 3 small hearts there. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, so let's just put those down quickly. And then we have one final thing to do, which is a finishing spray. And it is something you probably don't have in your stash if you're not someone who uses sprays and things. But I'm going to introduce it because I think it's a worthwhile thing to have in your stash. And it doesn't really matter what brand you buy, but it's an iridescent spray that gives you a very light, oh, there we go, just went on my lap, a very light covering of iridescent color. Now, I was thinking of going gold on this, but since I've got it all together, I'm changing my mind, and I'm thinking that it would be much better to have silver, especially with the pink. So there's where we are at right now. Beautiful, isn't it? Cute little thing. I'm going to take these guys off because when I do the spray, I want it to just naturally go all over everything. I don't want to plant it. It'll land on flowers. It'll land wherever it lands. So the ones that I have are Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist, but there's all kinds of glimmer mists out there. This is the gold and this is the silver. So I think I am going to use the silver. Just going to make sure that I don't have any product that's too close to it that will get covered in it. And literally, I just spray it across. Make sure it's nicely shaken up. And I don't care if it bulges and blops. And you just spray right across. And you can let some of the parts blob, because the blobs are pretty too. So I'm going to open this up and just put a few little blobs. Well, I've got quite a few little blobs. I didn't even see those. And I got some blobs on the flowers. Alrighty, and when this is dry, you'll be surprised how subtle it is. So right now, it looks pretty obvious, but it dries so that the watermark that you can see here, that watermark will disappear and it'll just be glimmer. And all you'll see is the glimmer, but you can kind of get a sense of what that glimmer looks like when I move the page around. It's very, very subtle, but when you're looking at the page without a camera screen on it, it's very, very pretty. I wonder if I can get a good close-up of that right there. This is where you can start to see the glimmer coming as it dries in that area. It's hard for me to get the camera to really help you see what's happening there. So you can see a little bit of it right around there. You can start to see it glimmering up. Anyway, it is worth your while, and when you use it, it's beautiful. It really makes your pages look shimmery and watery in effect. So that is it, folks, for this week. We've done a single page layout with our scraps. The only 12 by 12 page or paper that I had was the background. The rest all came out of my scrap, my turquoise scrap container. And a couple of odds and sods. These were all leftover pieces of flowers that I had no use for, really, and they were just sitting in my collection. And I thought, well, you can always change the color of them, so bring them in and see what happens. And I ended up liking them just the way they were. So thank you very much for joining me. This is Crafty Chris on Scrap Your Scraps, and I hope I will see you next week. Bye now.